Good morning, and welcome to episode 7 of the Dittmer Knittery podcast. I'm Bev, and you can find me and Dittmer Knittery on the internet, on Facebook and Etsy, and right here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching today. I really appreciate it if you're one of my returning viewers. Appreciate you subscribing. If this is your first time watching, I do hope you like what you see. Please, if you're watching, click that like button. If you're watching and you like what you see, please click that like button, and I'd be glad to see your comments. I do have a little bit of a correction, which will also give me a chance to talk about some podcasts I like. I mentioned the yarn hookers, and I said Ginger, Julie, Cate, and Kim. And while Kim is fabulous, what I meant to say was Mel of Hook to the Left. So watch the Yarn Hookers, which is a live where the four of them talk about various subjects, mostly crochet, but you know, it's so fun. You should watch the Yarn Hookers. And then Kim, who I mentioned, is Kim of Affordably Crafty. She does make crafting affordable and fun. She's so innovative and thinks of so much and gets so much done. It's hard to believe what she gets done and how much she supports other podcasts. Really appreciate you, Kim. And the other four who are the Yarn Hookers, that would be Ginger, the Yarn Geek, Mel, Hook to the Left, Cate, Bitchin Stitches, and Julie, the Wippy chick. And I did that from memory. I did not have that written down. I have notes, but I remembered their names and the names of their podcasts, and I sure hope I got it right because I just bragged about getting it right. So I sure hope I got it right. So let's move into today's podcast, which I hope is going to be short. Can't promise that, but I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm going to talk about works in progress, finished objects, the spotlight I was on this week, LadyBirD Loves Spotlight. I'm going to ask some questions of you, my viewers, and at the end, I'm going to demonstrate the use of a Nostepinne. Now, I am not expert at this, so demonstrate is probably kind of a loose term. But let's get started with some works in progress. I showed you this work, I think, when it was just begun. And now it's just about finished. This is a cotton market bag. This is, I have the yarn right here, Premier Home Cotton, which I believe is a blend, 85% cotton, 15% polyester. But to me, it feels and behaves very much like cotton. It's been nice to work with, very affordable. And this is my progress on the bag. I think it looks pretty good. I am on the strap, and that's just single crochet to make the strap. And of course I'll work until it's long enough, and then I'll attach it over on the other side. The body of the bag was worked in interlocking double crochet with some single crochet, for the top and the bottom. And a little bit of single crochet on the sides to give it some interest and texture. And I did a single crochet around the edge, kind of like a shell stitch. I started to do double crochet around the edge, but it didn't look right. But I wanted to put an edge on it. So I did this 5 single crochets, skip one single crochet, skip one, 5 single crochets, and I think that turned out nice. I like that. So I may finish this today. Now I am contemplating doing a single crochet small pocket and sewing it on the inside as a bonus to the customer because she is such a good customer. So we'll see about that. We'll see what I have time for today. I'm running a little bit behind on my schedule, but I'll see if I can get that done today. my other work in progress I have mentioned before, and that's the Mexico beach bag that I'm making for the Crochety Clogger, Marieanne of the Crochety Clogger. And I got some more of the yarn that I'd like to use. And I think when I show you this yarn, my plan will make more sense. All Knit Picks palette yarns. And what I'm imagining is this blend of the sky, blending these two top ones to make the sky, and then blending into the water with this third color, and adding some other colors for accents as I go along, perhaps. But it may be that I use these to make the body of the bag, and I do have more skeins of each of these. I'm not sure how much I'll need. I make some notes about how much yarn I use, and then I don't go look at those notes. I just order some yarn. And once the bag is all knit and I have hot water felted it and it's a piece of solid fabric, I intend to needle felt on it. And what I would like to needle felt on it is some nature scenes. So there'll probably be some browns and greens, trees and bushes along, maybe just a suggestion of that. But then I also am going to try, and I'll probably practice making some of these. I would like to make some monarch butterflies on this background that I've created. And I have some beautiful colors that I think will work for that. Of course, a dark color, a black light color. I try not to work with actual black, although I do have a skein of black if I decide I need it, if this color isn't dark enough. But this is, again, palette yarn. Abyss Heather. And I really think that that will serve as a very nice black for the monarch butterflies. And I may also use this to make part of the bag, like perhaps the bottom of the bag and the straps of the bag. We'll see, but you can tell I do have a plan. I've been thinking about this. And I have some sketches I wanted to show you, but I forgot to set out the sketchbook again. So maybe next time I'll show you the sketches. But here are my butterfly colors. Some, I believe this is kumquat, perhaps tangerine, because these palette yarns, although I don't have the ball bands on them, to me they look like what they are. I mean, that looks like a kumquat to me, and I think I showed you that particular one before. And this is maybe sunflower, and I believe this is cornmeal. So I hope to make some beautiful monarch butterflies on the surface of that bag for Marieanne. So that's the, and I hope I may even get started on that today. We'll see. We'll see. Of course, I have my beverages here. I have my coffee. When I finish that up, I have a glass of water sitting here. Because I talk so much, of course, my mouth gets dry. I do have a few finished objects I'd like to show you too. Later today, I am going to go to our local library, and with the help of a librarian there, I'm going to film a little segment where I demonstrate how to make crochet icicles. And these are two that I made over the last couple of days as I was practicing. This is not quite thread weight yarn. This is cotton fine, 80% cotton, 20% merino wool, brown sheep company yarn. I do like my brown sheep yarn, Mitchell, Nebraska. I didn't really even realize that's what it was. I just picked out a skein of white yarn. And you can make these, so for the demonstration I'm going to use, so I made this one in a heavier yarn because for the demonstration, of course, I'm going to use some heavy yarn, this nice fatty fat wool yarn, and a big hook for the demonstration because I have seen some YouTube videos and I think that the YouTubers that use the big yarn and the big hooks to show us what to do are very helpful. So I'm going to try to do that. I learned something from you. Thank you. And so you can make these nice icicles, and of course you can make them any weight with any yarn, any hook. And I'll talk about in just a minute. I'll tell you how to do it. Just a minute. I'll have one more to show you. In fact, I have two more to show you. There's the other one. So this one's a little bit more holiday. Some green and red. I just picked up two fine yarns and held them together and used the same method. When I'm finished, you end up with your two strands here at the top of the icicle, and you can just tie them together and make a loop, and your decoration is complete. And I even imagine like you could make a line of these and hang them inside your window. You can make them white or any color you want. Like I imagine them even in rainbow colors. I couldn't find a rainbow yarn. I really wanted to make you a rainbow one, but I didn't have an appropriate rainbow yarn that I could put my hands on. But I made you this purple one. And the way you make these, you start with a chain, and I recommend a chain of between 25 and 30. It does not have to be exact. You slip stitch in the first two chains, or you can begin the icicle right away, but I like this kind of pointy end on the icicle. Slip stitch in the first two, or knit in the, or knit. You're only going to crochet. This is crochet. And then you crochet 4 stitches in each chain. And with crochet, you know, you can make your chain as long as you want, and then if you have crochet stitches left over, you can undo them. So don't worry about if you've added too many. Like I recommend you crochet between 25 and 30, and you'll probably end up using about 24 stitches and undoing the end, or you can just keep going until you're out of chain stitches. But it is very simple to undo that last bit of chain if you have too many chain stitches. Pardon me, beverage break. The other thing that I said I would show them at the library, because it just seems appropriate, is a bookmark. And this again is a crochet bookmark. And you can start with a chain of 25 or 30. You crochet in the first chain, skip one, double crochet, 5 or 6 or however many looks right to you. Skip one, single crochet, skip one, do your group of double crochets, work to the end, turn it around, and do the same thing back down the other side. Add some fringe, and you have a nice crocheted bookmark. And I have made several of these. I make them, and I usually try to include one in each package I give to someone, especially if I know they're a reader, and I try to pick a color that I know they'll like. This one I'm going to give to the librarian at the library when we do the video demo after we're done, or during the video whenever I feel it's appropriate. I'm going to let her know that this one is for her. I asked her what her favorite color is. I thought it was green, but I wasn't sure. My favorite color is also green. She said her favorite color is green. Now, I just think it's the highest of privileges to actually know a librarian. I'm a great reader, which I've mentioned a couple of times, and I spend a lot of time, especially as a child, I spent a lot of time at the library, and then recently, in the last 10 years or so, I again have gotten really used to going to the library to get my books. I used to buy books, and that became financially unfeasible at the rate I was buying. So I started going to the library like a person should, and I really like getting my books from the library, and I love knowing a local librarian who is willing to invite me to the library to do a video for her. Now, this bookmark method can also be used with all different yarns, with all different hooks, and it doesn't have to be a bookmark. It could be a decoration. I used the very same method to make this, and just added a tassel at the end. And there you have another holiday decoration. This is getting a little bit longer than I anticipated it would be. That's okay with me if it's okay with you. The other finished object I'd like to show you is something that I talked about on Yarn Geek's live this morning. Ginger, the Yarn Geek, does a live Central Time, 5 to 7 every morning. It's a great group of people, and it's a great video to watch. Please join us. Say hi. Say you came over from Dittmer Knittery. I know people from the Yarn Geek have come over here to watch me, so it's a great connection to have with Ginger. But anyway, on that chat this morning, I mentioned that I had made a bag for my dog. And I said, well, maybe I'll show it on my podcast because it is a finished object. Now this bag, my dog is 14 years old. He had a bag. I bought him a bag the day after I got him. So he's always been carried in a bag. He likes being in his bag. He goes everywhere with me in the bag. Yes, he has been in grocery stores and in church and everywhere else that I've been. Sometimes people know he's there, sometimes they don't, because he does stay in the bag and he doesn't bark and he likes it in there. Well, his store-bought bag wore out, and I made him a bag. Of course, I knitted and felted him a bag. That's where his little head sticks out when he rides in the bag. And this is some heavyweight, different yarns that I had at the time I decided to do this. This, in fact, was a strap for a purse I made that I didn't like. The strap didn't work on the purse, so I pulled it out of my stash and repurposed it to go on Isaac's bag. And this is his bag he rides in all the time. Has a blanket in it. If he saw me holding it, he would want to get right in it. And he does go almost everywhere with me. And because I've had him for so long, and I've lived in this same town for a while, lots of people know that I have a dog in my bag, and he has quite a following. He's a great little dog. I love him so much. Of course, you've heard me talk about him. Oh, I also have his leash right here, which I made a long time ago. He's had this same leash for years and years and years, and it's just a long I-cord that I knitted and felted, of course. I need that drink of water now. Those are my finished objects for this episode. And the next thing I'd like to talk about is the spotlight that I was on with LadyBirD Loves. Please check out her channel. With LadyBirD Loves, and it has been uploaded to my channel. You can watch it right here, or you can go over to her channel and watch it, or you can watch it in both places. I hope that you enjoy it, and really like any feedback that you might have. I am open to constructive criticism, and I'd like to hear what you think. Of course, try to be nice. I'm reading my notes. Okay, I thought that I wasn't this far along in my podcast, so I was a little bit confused about my notes. Forgive me for a second there. the feedback I'd like is about that podcast and about the future of about that spotlight and about the future of my podcast. So think about that. And if you would, give me feedback on some questions I have for you. Do you think that, so these are my questions for you that I would like you to answer in the comments or email me or contact me however you would like. Do you think that I should continue weekly podcasts? I think I feel a little rushed and pressed to do it. But I think that as I get more used to it, I'll get over that. So if you say you want to continue to see me weekly, then I'll try to do that. But I really think that I might go to an every other week schedule. Do you, my viewers, have any suggestions for the kind of content you would like to see here on this podcast? Do you, viewers, have any specific questions for me? And I will try to answer whatever questions you ask, especially if they're about my process and my art. But I do talk about my life too, and I'm a fairly private person, but if you want to ask me something, I'll do my best to answer it. I'm not very interesting. About my process, how I knit and felt and make the things that I make. People have asked questions about that on the spotlight. People were asking questions about how I felt. And I'm glad to share that process. I will answer questions and share my process so long as viewers show interest. But if you viewers, if it gets too detailed or what I'm talking about isn't specifically of interest to you, let me know and we'll go down a different path. Because while that spotlight that LadyBird did, while that was about me, my podcast is about you viewers. That's why I'm here, is to share with you. And I want to deliver content that interests you. So please let me know how I can best do that. And I'll talk more about my schedule in just a minute. I think I am going to take a little break, but I have one more thing that I wanted to show you that I had said a couple of times that I would show on here. And that's how to wind a center pull ball on a Nostepinne. Now, I don't have a Nostepinne. I'm not an expert. I can't say it with an accent. The spelling will be in the description box. I probably will also find a YouTube link that talks about how to do it and someone that can show you more expertly than me. But I decided that I needed all of my yarn to be center pull balls, and I didn't have a yarn swift yet, although I did get one later. So I learned by watching YouTube videos to wind a center pull ball on a Nostepinne. And my Nostepinne is a big knitting needle. That's all it is. Now I have some nice knitting needles that I usually use for my Nostepinne, but I can't find them right now because I've moved. But this works just fine. And I wanted you to see what it looks like with the ball on it. And I'll take this off, and then I'm going to try to start a new ball to give you an idea of how it works. And no, this is not a perfect ball. This is not a fancy wound, like you see some professionals that can wind their balls with perfect lines. But it is a center pull ball that works as a center pull ball just fine. And you can make it flat, so it will sit flat and you can pull from it. One of the reasons I need center pull balls is for the knitting machine. While you can knit or crochet with a ball that pulls from the outside, you really can't knit on the knitting machine with a ball if it doesn't pull from the inside. You can't have those balls rolling around. It has to sit flat and the yarn has to come out the top of it. So that was kind of a tangent, but I'm going to try to show you how I get started and a little bit of how you can make a center pole ball if all you have is some yarn and a knitting needle. I like to make a knot in the end of my yarn and stick it on the end of this knitting needle to hold it in place for just a little bit. It's probably going to slip off of there, but it's going to hold it on there long enough for me to get started. And just wind around a couple of times to get started. And then what you want to do is twist the Nostepinne as you twist the yarn. And you'll begin to form a little ball. And like I said, it's not perfect. Mine certainly is not perfect. But you'll establish a rhythm. Turn and wind and turn and wind and turn and wind and turn and wind. And you can stop, and I'm going to do it for just a minute to show you that I am beginning to form a ball. And you want to catch the bottom around the top. The bottom around the top. So you're capturing all your yarn. I told you I'm not great at it. But I love this rhythm. I love the feel of the wool yarn in my hand. This is wool. And you can see that a ball does begin to form. And you can squish your ball and make it a better shape. You can move it around. And when you're all, and this is going to be your center pole, this part that I attached to the tip. So that's why it's important to have a length and secure it at least until you get started so that you have your center pole when you're finished. I dropped my yarn, sorry about that. So that's really, I think, most of what I wanted to talk about today. And after saying I wanted to make a short podcast, this is probably the longest podcast I've done so far. And I hope that you will think about the questions that I've asked. And I am going to take a break. I will be back in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not sure if I will be back in 2 weeks because we do have a holiday coming up and I'm going to travel to see a friend. I have not seen my friend, I think, for about 7 years. She does not work outside the home. Her husband does work outside the home, but of course I won't have close contact with him and we'll be very careful. And it will be just, and I'm isolated. So I feel it's safe to spend the holiday with them. I'm contemplating it up to the last minute, of course. If we should receive some kind of notice to stay at home, I might reconsider, but at this point it seems like a very feasible trip. Pardon me. Pardon me. Sorry about that. So if you don't see me next week, don't worry. Just watch this one. It's long. Should keep you occupied for a little while. I'm sorry to be so long. So I'll be back December 3rd or December 10th, depending on whether I take a 2 or 3 week break. And during that time, I'm going to work on some quality and interesting content for you. And I'm going to watch for comments about what you'd like to see. I'm going to close with some advice that I give myself daily. I will look forward to seeing you. I'll be watching your podcasts and looking at your comments. So we'll be in touch. And the advice I give to myself that I'd like to give to you is be here and now. See things as they are. Be calm. Be kind. Stay safe and well. I'll see you soon.